How much money was raised by this commission with your charge to raise money? Because the charge was, the original agreement with council and the charge was to become self-sustaining by the end of 2013, correct?
Yes.
How much money was raised?
I'm going to ask if one of our other commissioners can answer
You
that.
bet. I
That
understand.
was on the Finance Committee. Okay. The answer to that is none.
How many grants were applied for?
We looked a great deal at grants, but what we found is that the requirement was a minimum of 3 years of being established, so we didn't qualify.
So no grants were applied for.
Now, we had a list that was investigated, and what we found is we hadn't been in existence long enough to apply.
Okay. At what point were fundraising efforts abandoned?
Well, I wouldn't say that we ever abandoned them. What we found was that we hit a lot of roadblocks with them, that we either didn't qualify, we didn't have enough of a track record, and then when tech transfer responsibilities were added, then that put us in a position of not qualifying for art-related grants.
As a city councilor passing out the citizens' money, okay, it's a grave concern to me that a commission would have, this lack of success and not do some kind of periodic reporting to council about it. Because at some point you knew that the grants were out of your reach from, just the definitions of them. And if I'm not mistaken, is this the first time this has been reported back to us that no fundraising whatsoever has been accomplished by this group?
I think from the commission itself, that is correct.
First of all, I want to thank the commissioners, for your service and for realizing that perhaps the time for the OCSD to come to an end is at the end of the current cycle, the current funding cycle. I think that's forward thinking, and I congratulate you for being ahead of that game. But what concerns me tonight is that I think we have two completely disparate issues. Okay. First of all, if we're going to if the OCSD is going to sunset out at the end of 2013, so be it, and that's, a decision that's been made by your commissioners, and off we go. The next is whether we add funding and add staffing to the development staff, and I don't think that, we haven't seen a report since you went up to your current level of staffing, have we, Betsy? Have we had a report from your department?
Not directly related to the functions of the Economic Development Department, that's correct.
Right. Okay. So I would suggest that any decisions we make regarding adding staffing and or funding to the Economic Development Department be held off until after such time as we receive a report from that department. Because I don't think as counselors we can or should be asked to make these decisions based upon one small slice of your pie. Because OCSD is, one piece of your picture, and we have not received a report on your entire department. At the time that we receive that report, then if you want additional funding, if you want additional staffers, whatever, then we can consider those things at that time. But tonight, I think the city manager was absolutely correct in that this is a twofold question. First, does OCSD go away? And I think the commission itself has decided that and given us recommendations to that effect. And then the second is, do we add another staffer to the Economic Development Department? And we do not simply have enough information here to make that decision because we've never received a report on the Economic Development Department at its current staffing levels.
Mary, can I make a clarification? Your recommendation was not that the OCSD go away, but that the OCSD Commission go away.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Okay. The commissioners act as the board that advises Marcy Arian on the position that she has. What we feel would be more valuable than us trying to raise funds and add that value, we feel that Marcy has added value in what she has done. It'll become a fundraising game.
I appreciate that, and I guess the the short version of what you're saying is that OCSD, as it was originally envisioned and chartered by this council, just didn't work.
The funding part did not come through.
John?
I agree with Councilor Klassen. Goal 4 and its actual total lack of achievement overshadows what and puts a stain on something that is unfortunately the product of somebody's incredibly hard work for the last 2.5 years. 9 councilors sat in this chamber 2.5 years ago and were given a set of promises. They expected to take $100,000 out of their incentive fund, provide it to the OCSD, and have these things happen. First of all, the person running the OCSD was tasked with many other things. How she would have had time to do any of the things that are in Goal 4, I don't know, because literally she ended up with enough jobs for 6 people by my thinking. Okay, that was a poor choice without coming to council and changing that. A year and a half ago, I told you I was concerned that you wanted to change the goal, move the goalposts before the end of the game. What I'm concerned that you've done now is you've changed the scoring method without moving the goalposts. Please roll that slide up. Okay, and it pretty much sums it up in one area: spending increase of $1.5 million. So that would be suggesting, okay, that the $36 that CSU has determined that people spend when they go to these concert venues, that they never spent a dime before. So we're seeing an increase of $1.5 million? I don't see that.
Revenue generated from the events.
Okay, but it says spending increase. Okay, on your chart. And this speaks to the promises that were made to council. Okay, let's be really honest. Okay, as councilors, we're charged with watching the public purse strings. We're talking about $100,000. That's almost twice what the average citizen in this city makes that pays these taxes that we're spending. The 9 councilors that sat here and made these decisions before expected through future councils that if this didn't work like it was designed, that it would end. And as a council, I think we have the charge to let that occur and put the money back in the same funds that it came from. And the nuances of city finance are amazing to me. They really are. Well, we've got this $100,000. We've already spent it over here, but rather than put it back from where we took it to, we're going to send it over here instead. I think we owe a clearer explanation to the public of how we spend their money than to shuffle from one place to the other like that. We need to this program needs to be done, needs to go back to square one, and then through, reports from your department, we need to make new decisions based on a total picture of the data that you present us with. And then, hopefully if we make any of these 3-year or 5-year commitments, that future councils can expect the same thing to happen. If you give us a program, you ask for money, and if it doesn't happen, the money goes back in the till from whence it came. We say, okay, we accomplished a lot of things, but it didn't work. Then we go onward, and the next council makes a decision how to spend the money then. We don't decide ahead of time for councils how they're going to spend their money. We're not even allowed to legally. But from my comment in this, I bordered on comments now, Mr. Mayor, so let me finish. I'll say a couple sentences and I'm done. Okay. First of all, the OCSD, you guys worked incredibly hard. Thank you for all your service. It needs to be done at the end of its term, by my thinking. That money needs to go back into council incentive from whence it came, and then this council needs to decide how to best allocate those funds for future needs based upon the Economic Development Department's reports and future plans.
Okay, so now we're on comments because you I think we'd gone over the line before already. So I won't whip you with a wet noodle too bad here. So go ahead, Joan.
Well, as folks might guess, I have a little bit different take on this. What I see my vote to have been when we created the Office of creative sector development was an experiment. We were investing in an innovative concept. We were giving it our best staff's effort to define what the parameters would be, to try and wrap our heads around what success would mean for the program. And for me, with any innovative, out of the box and not in the box kind of activity, we had a lot of learning to do. And I think as Councilor Fogle had mentioned, and certainly we have a gem in Marcy Arian and the ability that she has to cross throughout the full spectrum of the Office of Creative Sector Development, from assisting individual artists to technologies that I'm sure she doesn't have a lot of depth of knowledge in, but has gained a lot.